This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, ready to rock and roll. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
Big O, I'm good. I got the ideal Bears game once again, in which Justin Fields plays very well, and they don't win. So preserving draft positions. It was perfect. It was a perfect weekend for me. Thank you. I hope you're doing well.
Yes. Although I just had this conversation with Alan Poupart, and the listeners. What still will stand through the test of time for me is whether you're Randall Cunningham, whether you're Michael Vick, whether you're Lamar Jackson, whether you're Hurts or Fields, you better learn to be Russell Wilson. You better learn to beat people from the pocket. You can run and you can be Cam Newton and maybe you get lucky and get to a Super Bowl, but you're not winning a Super Bowl. None of them have won a Super Bowl until they learn to beat people from the pocket. And you just don't want to kill yourself, keep running and running, because you're going to put yourself at injury risk, unfortunately, because you can only take so many hits. And, Ben Roethlisberger took a lot of hits, but he took a lot of hits while he was buying time in the pocket to beat you. And that, to me, is what all of these running quarterbacks have to learn. You better learn to be Russell Wilson, because that's the only way you're going to celebrate a title. And I love what Justin Fields is all about, but if you're going to use running as the anchor of the way you play the game, I don't think you end up being ultimately successful for your team overall.
You know what the nice thing with Justin Fields is that he's still very early in the developmental arc. So I do see a lot of people on Twitter just declaring that this version of Justin Fields is what we're getting. But if you felt that way about Jalen Hurts last year, you're just wrong, right? Like he didn't pass the ball well last year. He's much better this season.
And still not enough.
You pair someone like Fields. Well, they haven't lost. I mean, say what you will, they haven't lost, and obviously there hasn't been a Super Bowl for him to get to yet, so it may yet happen. We'll see. Like if you're able to actually pair like a true alpha wide receiver with Justin Fields again as he's still developing, but we'll see. I mean, Cam got pretty far. Cam got to a Super Bowl and won an MVP. So I don't think it's I don't think it's out of. Plus, you don't want to be this version of Russell Wilson, right? Like the peak version of Russell Wilson could run for 60 yards against anybody, and the run was always a threat, and you had to account for him as at least a rushing weapon. Of course, he was able to, especially with the deep ball, he was able to do some great things. But this current version of Russell Wilson, who won't run and who seems to want to establish himself as a pocket passer, has just been dreadful. So, I hear you. When he's 30, this might catch up with him, but I'm not really thinking about when he's 30 right now. I'm thinking about the next, I'm thinking about this contract and the next one.
He won't get to 30. He won't get to 30 playing this way. He won't get to 30. That's the problem. He'll be broken down by then. He has to learn to
say that he takes bigger hits than Lamar does. Justin Fields is
he's not faster than Lamar. Lamar's hard to catch.
Lamar has a great sense for like avoiding the big hit, and Justin Fields has this little voice inside his head clearly that says, "I can lay the wood to this guy." Right? Like he injured a guy on that first touchdown run against this past week. But that's a terrible instinct, obviously, right? Like I think Lamar is kind of built to last in this style in a way that I'm occasionally afraid Justin Fields isn't, because he seems to like to deliver too many hits.
Yeah, you're right about that. Lamar does have the Warwick Dunn, Barry Sanders quality, that they're so quick and so good laterally that they know how to avoid hits. You rarely ever got a clean hit on Barry. You rarely ever got a clean hit on Warwick Dunn. And he does have that gift. By the way, Russell Wilson has had that gift for a while too, that you really wouldn't get clean hits on him. Marvin Harrison did it a different way. You never got clean hits on Marvin Harrison because he was quick to just sit down, slide, step right out of bounds.
Yep. He was going to the turf where he was stepping out of bounds. Yeah.
Right. And he had a Hall of Fame career because his ass was super smart. He was like, no, dude, I ain't taking. No, I'm not taking hits. I'm gonna catch the ball, move the chains, and I'm gonna sit down right away. And I thought that was, that was genius on his part.
Yeah.
The game's brutal enough as it is. Don't take the hits. To me, I'm a big Justin Fields fan. I like Justin Fields because I think as a passer, he has more hope than Lamar. I don't give Lamar any hope as a passer. To me, this is who he is. This is who he's always going to be. Yeah, he's a phenomenal athlete, and the legs will carry him for so long, but he can't beat you with his arm, and he proves it on a consistent basis. And when you talk about a number one wide receiver, well, you got to throw it to those guys because they're divas. And if you're going to become a running offense and the quarterback and the running backs are getting most of the action and the receivers aren't that involved, number one receivers don't want to be a part of those kind of offenses. So you're not going to get those free agents to sign with you. You're going to have to either trade for them or draft them in order to corral them into your system. Look at Hollywood Brown. He's not even an elite receiver. And he was like, yeah, I don't feel like I'm a part of this offense. Of course not, kid, because all they do is run there. They barely throw. And so then that's the catch-22. But Justin is a guy that I give him hope to become a passer. And I'm with you that it's still way too early in the process. We got to wait a couple of years to see how he evolves as a passer.
He's so much better than his receivers right now. Like he was
right, but he didn't get to this league like Burrow and Tua, that they're already accomplished passers in the way that they watch the game, they view the game and the field. He's not at that level, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I also think that's true of the primary pocket passers in his same quarterback class, right? Like I don't think Trevor Lawrence is all that much more advanced than Justin Fields. He has a huge arm. He probably uses his legs not enough, right? Like it was a strength of his in college. You'd see flashes with Lawrence, but not the consistency. Fields for me, not that we need to turn this whole conversation into Justin Fields, but he is he also still has that thing where he tries to hit big plays all the time. And that definitely worked at Ohio State. And sometimes in the NFL, you just gotta get 8 yards. Like there's not a home run there on absolutely every throw.
No, I'm with you. I mean, that's the thing with Tua at times where he would like do anything to make the play. And it's like, yo, dude, slide, get the hell out, throw the ball away. Don't kill yourself on every freaking play. But and Justin Fields is like that too. He kills himself on every play, man. I'm a big fan of his. That Clemson game just like it sealed it for me. I was like, okay,
yeah, hero stuff. Yeah,
he has it. He has it. Now he has to learn how to be a passer. And if he does that, then that's some scary shit down the line. That's where it's going to get scary. Yeah, by the way, speaking of scary, how scary is our boy down here?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's a Death Star offense at this point, right? Like it's without question an elite offense. It's crazy, by the way. I know we talked about him last week, but it's crazy that Jeff Wilson has stepped in and now seems to have leapfrogged Mostert, at least to some extent. It's kind of exciting.
Automatic flex. Yeah, automatic flex now, right?
Yeah, he's probably going to be a little higher than that. He's probably,
okay.
we still got buys coming. We got injuries coming. Yeah, I think we're going to look at Jeff Wilson as an RB2, and we're probably going to look at Mostert as a flex because Mostert is still playable as well. It's not like he's, it's not like it's just a single featured running back. And this is probably the highest and best use of Mostert too, right? You want him, you don't necessarily want to grind that guy down with 25 touch games. So it's a thrilling offense when everybody's healthy. And there's, just this pairing of Waddle and Hill. We just don't. I don't know. I can't. Maybe there was some Raiders team that paired receivers that were this fast together, but it's extremely rare in NFL history.
I was almost seeing. I wonder if Trent Sherfield becomes a flex now down the line.
Yeah, that was a really exciting game, and he's had pretty steady usage too. So again, if you're like these guys who are sort of supporting receivers and backs in offenses that can score 35 against anybody, sure, yeah, all those guys are on the flex radar. It's why we talk about Chiefs so often in pickups columns, right? Even when they're, even when some of these guys are only playing like half the snaps and maybe they're only seeing 4 or 5 targets, but they're Mahomes targets, and the Chiefs are averaging like 34 a game. So sure, like all those guys are flexes. Every damn Chiefs receiver is a flex, and it's getting that way with Miami as well.
All right, start sending in the fantasy football questions. If you have them, put them up here on the YouTube chat board. And, of course, a lot easier on the Welton Rayom text line because that way I can see them right there at 855-912-1056. That's 855-912-1056. I'm in big trouble this week. I lost Kupp and Juju, and I have Waddle on a bye. Who's a good option at wide receiver on the wire? Wow.
This is brutal. Hopefully Kupp is able to return. Hopefully Juju is able to return, but obviously concussion protocols and this season being what it is, I guess I'd be a little bit surprised if he's able to make it back to the field because he got rocked. It looked a little bit like the Tua situation initially, right? Where he was just sort of motionless for a little while. So anyway, it was a terrible situation with Juju. I hope he gets back quickly. The nice thing here for this manager is that it's a pretty good week on the waiver wire. It's a pretty good week at all positions. A bunch of young running backs popped, and obviously we have receivers that pop every week. Christian Watson gave you the full Christian Watson experience, I think, in week 10, right? He had a couple of drops early, had a miscommunication with Rodgers, but also caught 3 touchdown passes. He's a stupid athlete, like even by NFL standard. We're talking about somebody with 4.3 speed. He's huge. He's like 6'5". He's a jumper. Just doesn't know where to go, and his hands don't always work properly, right? But he's man, what a perfect replacement for Marquez Valdes-Scantling, because he does all the same things in kind of the same package as a player. And you just saw you just saw the high end for him. You just saw the potential ceiling. So given the Packers receiving core and their total lack of talent there, I think you have to consider Christian Watson an interesting ad. He's available in over 90% of leagues right now because he hasn't been able to stay healthy all year. Both of the Chargers receivers who are running out there right now ahead of, with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams hurt, DeAndre Carter and Josh Palmer are both interesting. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is pretty interesting. He's about 40% rostered right now. Again, it's the Chiefs. He's actually out snapping every other Chiefs receiver.
Kadarius Toney?
Yeah, Tony's actually rostered in over 50% of leagues, and he's
still available. I mean, if
he's still available, he's just not as available as some of the other guys that we're talking about here. And he really, like, as soon as that trade went down, almost every competitive league, Kadarius Toney got snatched up, which honestly to me was a little bit curious. I really thought that he was a big beneficiary of the fact that Mecole Hardman didn't play this past week because he basically did all the Mecole Hardman stuff. He still didn't play a ton. He did find the end zone. He's a really fun player. But I feel like it was more him stepping into the workload that would have gone to Hardman. So we'll see. We'll see if Hardman's able to make it back. He didn't practice at all last week. So if he does, I think that's a pretty big hit to Toney.
I guess we have somebody new to fantasy. He's asking, what is a flex receiver? Sir, that's a person that has sex with anybody. They're very flexible. Joey Vasquez is asking, I'm trying to trade Herbert and Pierce for Dak Prescott. I already have Jeff Wilson and Ken Walker. Is that good or giving up too much?
No, you're not giving Pierce, Damian Pierce. No, we're not doing that. We're not. Damian Pierce is your second best running back. I mean, I'd roll with Pierce and Walker. Rest of Walker's got a bye coming up. What are we doing here? Right. You're not even trading for be one thing if you're trading for like Tua or Mahomes or somebody who's just lighting it up every week. You're not even doing that. No, this is a terrible trade.
Yeah, and you're trading for an injury-prone player.
Yeah, this is wild.
That's the other thing. I don't trust Dak Prescott to. Do you trust Dak Prescott to stay healthy? I don't. There's no way that I would trust Dak Prescott to stay healthy. That just is crazy. Daddy Dean is asking, should I trade Kupp now to get 2 very good value players?
Well, I don't know who the very good value players are. I wouldn't say that it's unthinkable. I mean, you might very well be I don't know, if you're a 5-5 team right now and you got to get this week's win and you're not sure Kupp is going to be able to go. I can't say that I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade him for like, well, the one thing that you never want to do in fantasy, you never want to trade like, a 20 for 2 5s, right? Like you don't just want to collect some guys that will help you fill in for bye weeks and just take a staggering loss on a trade. He's still Cooper Kupp. When healthy, he's still a top 3 fantasy receiver, no question about it. So I wouldn't just give him away. But sure, I mean, he's, if he can't help you this week and you need this week's win, then he is certainly a trade chip.
Is there a tight end? Because it's been kind of tough with tight ends. Is there somebody out there that's...
Yeah, it's a great week for tight ends too. Foster Moreau caught a touchdown. He's going to get a little run now with Darren Waller on IR. So that's at least like 3 more weeks of, it's the Raiders. The Raiders aren't that exciting, but Moreau did catch a touchdown pass, and he's popped before when Darren Waller hasn't been out there. Isaiah Likely's coming back from bye, and even with Mark Andrews presumably returning for Baltimore, they need receivers because remember, they lost Bateman. Demarcus Robinson is dealing with an injury. Andrews playing through injury, right? So Isaiah Likely has scored touchdowns in each of his last 2 games. He's going to be a thing. He's pretty interesting. Trey McBride might become, like, if you're in a really deep league. Zach Ertz just suffered a knee injury. He's probably going to be out for multiple weeks. Trey McBride was a great college player as a 2nd-round pick for Arizona. It was a weird landing spot for him because they already had Ertz, but now he's got to play. And so I think he might get interesting.
Does Christian Watson start getting any role in Green Bay finally?
Yeah, I mean, you saw it. He just had 3 touchdowns, right? And it was a total...
Do you expect, is that a flash in the pan, or is that...
Sure, it's a flash in the pan. Like, nobody settles in as a guy who scores 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he could turn back into a pumpkin next week because he's only occasionally where Aaron Rodgers expects him to be, and he's had some notable drops this season. So yeah, I think of him as a Valdez-Scantling type player, with perhaps even a little bit more athleticism. But he's also, he's a rookie and he's still developing. So there's a level of upside there and a level of promise there that is maybe not present any longer with guys like, who are his comps, like Chase Claypool and MVS, guys like that who are more well established. So I think it was notable that early in that game, Watson had, key drop, and Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers come right over to him and they're like, hey, keep your head in the game. We're going to keep working you. And then they sure did, right? 3 touchdowns later, it was a breakout performance. So I don't think he's going to have, that could have been the best game of his career for all we know, right? 3 touchdowns doesn't happen very often, but he's going to score more this season, and they need him. They have no choice. They have no healthy, competent receivers out there, so they've got to make do with what they have.
Where are we at with Odell Beckham? What are you telling people?
Not to get, I actually think that Odell Beckham is, you've got trade deadlines coming up in fantasy leagues. I think he's a great sort of trade sweetener. I'm going to be really surprised if he just plugs in somewhere and gets like a lot of run in December. There's a reason that he is being linked to all these playoff teams, right? They want him in January. They want like a fully operational Odell Beckham in when they can't lose in the can't lose weeks in January. I think they're going to use December to make sure that he's healthy, make sure that he knows the playbook, and it sort of gets his feet under him, and then I think they're really going to roll him out when your fantasy season is over. That's what, just the timing of the injury, Super Bowl last year, it's just really hard to imagine that he's going to be 100% when he actually does sign with a team.
Chad says he wants to get ahead of the Arizona bye week, so I picked up Evan Ingram. Would he be a reliable tight end as Ertz is out?
Yeah, he's fine. He's been dealing with a little bit of a back injury lately. He was a little bit better early in the season. He was seeing a lot of volume early in the season, but I think he's a good enough player. We just got a lot of guys out there right now. Juwan Johnson of the Saints is another. He scored 4 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. There are all of a sudden tight end options out there who are actually finding the end zone and producing. I think Ingram's fine. I would probably prefer the guys that I mentioned earlier, Moreau, Johnson, definitely another one. But yeah, there's options out there now.
All right, Andy, I'm 4-6 in the season. It's salvageable with Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, and Leonard Fournette and Ricard White, all on bye weeks. Only do what I got left is Kareem Hunt. Okay. I guess what you're saying is you got all those guys off and all you have is Kareem Hunt. So I guess the question is he's trying to find another running back.
Yeah, well, a whole bunch of running backs popped this past week. Isaiah Pacheco's only rostered in about 24% of Yahoo leagues, and the Chiefs finally whittled their backfield down to two guys. It was just Jerick McKinnon and Pacheco instead of, Edwards-Helaire was barely a rumor this past week. I think he only played 4 snaps. Like, he was barely on the field. So Pacheco gets really interesting. Gus Edwards is coming back from injury at a hamstring thing. They get to face Carolina. Edwards is going to step right in to he's at least in a job share with Kenyon Drake. So he's going to be really fun. Baltimore loves him. So there's options out there. Jaylen Warren just had a day, over 70 scrimmage yards, and is kind of carving out a receiving role for Pittsburgh. So you do have options. It's tough. This is a lot of buys hitting at once, but you're still in a pretty good situation, I should mention, with Rachaad White and Ken Walker on the team. Like, that's not a bad way to go into the following week.
With Kupp out, Higbee is going to be a nice tight end.
Maybe. He finally saw some volume again this past week. Yeah, finally saw some volume again this past week. The problem is there's nobody who does, like, Cooper Kupp is kind of one of one, especially for that team, right? So there are definitely more targets to go around. I would be shocked if that team is able to sustain drives in the same way. Like, to some extent, like, you lose Cooper Kupp and the ceiling for that offense, which already was pretty low, gets even lower. So I can't say that there's one guy that I'm super excited for, given the prospect of Cooper Kupp missing time. But Higbee has been relatively reliable throughout this. I mean, at least in terms of targets and catches, he'd been pretty reliable early in the season. So some of that has come back. So that's good to see.
All right, what do you got going on Yahoo this week so folks can get ready for their stretch run, my brother?
Yeah, today we're talking waiver wire on the Yahoo Fantasy Forecast. That's our podcast. You can get it 5 days a week. This is a big waiver wire week, right? We got bye weeks, we got injuries, we got all kinds of stuff going on, and we have a bunch of guys who really popped. We have multiple situations out there right now where I think it's just like shove all your chips into the middle of the table for these guys. So we're going to be breaking that down.
And follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens. Andy, as always, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you immensely.
Thanks, brother. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. There you go, Andy Behrens. And don't forget, when we talk about Sports Grill, they've got it going on, baby, during college and NFL games. $1.50 Bud Light drafts and bottles during the game. So tonight, Monday Night Football, you can enjoy it. New cocktails. They've got the cherry lemonade, the tailgate tea. They've got $12 domestic pitchers, the bone-in wings. Oh, those special grilled are so awesome. 15% off. They've got the buttermilk chicken sandwich, and the Doral location is coming soon. And today is Monday. The Kendall location has got those milkshakes, which are absolutely delicious, and the rock and roll playing all night long. Today is Monday. $7 single smash burger. You know, the Dolphins yesterday smashed the Browns. You can get a smash burger, delicious, at Sports Grill for only $7. There you go. Sports Grill, baby. This is your Sports Grill Fantasy Football Zone.